guys, welcome back to the channel. So right here we have this twin turbo Q60. We got Isaac right here. Yep. So we're gonna be installing BC coilovers with upgraded Swift springs. Yep. BC coils. So on these cars, the same as the Q50s, the front's pretty simple to do. The rears are going to be a little more complicated because you have to, the bolts for it are inside the car, which we already have the seats folded down. These seats fold down, but the bolts are right under in that area. So we're going to have to remove these plastic trims. Hopefully we don't have to remove the speaker covers because apparently that's a pain to remove and to put back on. So we're going to get started on tearing this car apart, and then I'll show you guys the step-by-step on what we think is easier for the coilovers. All right, so first things first, we're gonna have to remove all these clips to get all these covers off. So we're gonna remove these covers and we'll show you from there. It's gonna be a metal bracket with 10mm bolts. I think it's 3 or 4 bolts that we're gonna have to pull off, and hopefully we can reach them without having to tear this thing apart. So we got the plastic trims peeled off. You're gonna have to just loosen up these quarter panel ends. Yeah, just loosen these up and then those come right out. So then we're gonna be taking off these 3 10mm bolts on each side for the airbags. That lets the bar for the airbag come down and then you have access into there. This is the metal bracket that we're talking about that we're gonna have to remove. All right, so right here, so you guys can see we have the bracket as 1, 2, 3 in the back, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts for this bracket. Once you undo the airbag, make sure your battery's off. Undo the plug so this thing can fall down. You'll have better access because once it's up here, it makes it a little bit harder. But there we have it. We're gonna remove all those 7 bolts. As for this mess right here, as you guys can see, I had to loosen up the bottom panel, loosen up the top panel. I see a lot of people always destroy this thing, and that's what I was trying to avoid. So I removed this top panel right here that covers the airbag up here, and then that kind of loosened this up, and we should be able to reach the bolts just fine. Once I'm done with this side, I'll jump over to that side and we'll get all those bolts loosened up. But I would honestly say it's easier if you guys have these bottom panels actually removed fully. So you're gonna have to remove your bottom seat, remove those, and then you can remove the top and so on. All right, so we just got the first bracket out of the way. As you guys can see right here, we got all 3 bolts that we need to take off for the shock. So there goes one bracket out. I'm gonna loosen these bolts up and then I'll get started on the driver's side. All right, so we just finished taking the bolts off from both sides on the top. So at least now we can start on the outside right here and get the rear ones, the hardest ones out, because the front ones are pretty simple. The bolts are right here. You can see that. This one's a little bit harder just because you got all these wires in the way, but bolts are right there. So this is the last bolt holding the strut. Once we remove that, this should all come down pretty easy. All right, so this one is all right, first strut is out. Just hammered it. All right, so we stepped on the disc right here and the coil came down, and then I just used a rubber mallet to basically knock it out over the other side and slip right out. So we got one out. Not a one. Yep. Jeez. Look at that difference. All right, do you want to adjust these or not? Yeah. Or just leave them as is?
Nah, I'm gonna adjust them because I don't know how.
Yeah, he wants to.
There you go. All right, now mallet. Isaac, can you go inside and put a nut? All right, so we got one in. Now we just gotta use the other jack to raise this up and line it up. First one in, they went to go to the store to buy some nuts for the bolts. So while they went to go do that, I'm gonna start the fronts. All right, so up here in the front, what we're gonna have to do is remove this bracket, same like the G37. Remove this one, these two right here, and then this nut right here. This is the main. All right, so these smaller ones are a 14. So 14, 14. And this bigger one is a 19. So impact gun for the win. Let's get to it. I promise you guys too, it will make your life so much easier if you loosen this bolt up as well, because having this loose means there's less pressure holding the shock with that bolt or with that this stud right here. So loosen this bottom bolt up, this one right here. Up top we got 3 12 millimeter bolts. You got this one right here, this one right here, and the other one is kind of hidden in here, but just kind of force your way in there. There you have it. All right, so now that's out, just like that. The strut comes right out. Just careful with your brake lines to not mess them up. Yep. There we go. Another OEM strut out, and then let's go in with the new one. Gonna count the rings, make sure they're both even on each side, and then we'll put them in. Coilover in, we got the nuts on top, holding it, and then I used another jack just to like bring the whole arm up, so I could put the sway bar link in here. So once you do that, you can let go of it. It's gonna hold itself up, and then you're gonna put the jack on the sway bar link to bring it up to put in the other end. Yeah, a little bit more to go. A little more. There you have it. Now you just put your nut and bolts and brackets back on, and you're good to go. All right, we got this side in, good to go. We're just gonna tighten up the top bolts, and then we'll jump over to the other side, the driver's side, and finish that setup as well. We got this one in as well. I already put the wheel back on this side. Everything is bolted down, so now it's just putting the interior part back together. My cousin's just tightening up the top bolts on the rear. Put the interior back together. Back together. Good to go. Yup. Like it never happened. Now we're gonna put the car back down and then check out its new ride height. All right. We got one side down. You can already see it's starting to look super low. Let's finish it off with this side. All right, so this is how it looks for now. This is how we're gonna leave it. And then the owner can let me know later on if he wants to adjust them. side. BC coilovers with Swift springs. Definitely a stiff ride, but no body roll whatsoever when you're taking corners pretty quick. So not bad. Gonna be the end of today's episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully this is useful for anyone that is doing coilover install on this. Definitely the top bolts in the back are the ones that are hard to get. Hopefully it's not too much trouble for you guys. Again, take apart as much as you can from the panels. It makes it a lot easier to get to those bolts. But again, thank you guys for always supporting the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.